Good morning. My name is Karen Kong and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Canada, and welcome to my This or That Thursday. Every week I try to post 2 cards in my Facebook group and on Instagram if I make it, and I ask you guys, the crafting community, to vote on a card for me to make live on Thursday mornings at 9. And so here we are this week. We had 2 cards and this is the one that got the most votes. There were no surprises this week. It was more or less tied in the Instagram vote, but it was a clear winner on Facebook for the thank you card. So that's what we're making today. So if you are joining in live, please say hi. Please tell me where you're watching from. Ask me questions. Don't feel like any question is too silly. This is a good opportunity for you to ask questions and find out how easy it is to make cards. So I'm just gonna go to my computer and I'm going to get the feed up on my screen so I can see your comments while we are crafting. And just give me a second. Just give me a few seconds to get this up and running, and then we'll be able to get started. All right, so my computer's up and running. Let me switch over to my desktop view. Close your eyes because I have to reposition my camera. Here we go. All right. So here we have the products that we're using for this card. And if you're watching for the first time, I always post my measurements and all the products and the colors in the video description after the video has been uploaded. You can find them, the video on Facebook, and you'll be able to find it on YouTube. Good morning, Sandra. Glad to have you join me. So yeah, I have pulled out the Zinnia. I have found this flower so useful. I use it on all sorts of cards. I do have a couple of other flower die cuts, but I don't use them as much because the peony that I have is quite large, and so it's makes much more of an impact on the page and it covers more. So but I find the smaller flower is easier to use, and I need to get my hands on more, but I haven't seen anything that I really love yet. We'll see. I also pulled out these dies, the Amazing Thanks dies, okay? So I pulled those out as well, and I'm still using the Wildflower Birthday DSP for this card. So it's kind of out of my comfort zone because it's more of an abstract layout. I kind of like more orderly layouts. I don't know. And it was fun to create because I was kind of using other cards that I had seen for inspiration, but it definitely was more difficult for me to do this one. But I love how it turned out. So you don't need a lot of supplies for this. Great to use up your scraps. And you know, mix and match. Okay, so let's make some room. I am making a square card today. I'm trying to commit to using up my square envelopes that I have in my stash that have sat in my storage for years and years and years. So now is the time. I really need to kind of get through them. So yeah, let's make some room and start crafting. So I don't know about you, but spring is finally sprung, I think, here in Ottawa. We are above 10 degrees, more or less this week, 10 degrees Celsius. And my allergies are definitely coming into force. So that's how I know that spring is here. I found that in the last few years that my allergies cause me to sneeze pretty much year round now, but it's, you know, not so bad during the winter. But I do have allergies to like dust and molds and stuff, so those are present year round, but in the springtime it's really bad with trees and pollen and all that sort of thing. So now it's full-time sneezing. So let's hope I don't have to sneeze and blow my nose too much when I'm doing my live. Fingers crossed. All right, so first of all, this card, it measures 5.5 by 5.5, which means you need a 5.5 by 11 piece of white cardstock. So let's start with that. So this is what we call the card base. It's going to be 5.5 by 11. So this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'm going to cut 5.5 inches in the width, and then we'll score it at 5.5 as well. Okay, so 5.5 inches wide, and then we'll score it at 5.5 to make a square card. Any other allergy sufferers out there? I always wonder if it's good to be on allergy medication year-round, but it's either that or I have a cracked and bleeding nose and I suffer from watery eyes and all the fun stuff, so I don't know. All right, so let's fold this because this is going to be a big card. It's taking up more room than usual. Get my bone folder. So yeah, I have not found a lot of really interesting new things in the new catalog, just personal preference, just based on what I have in my stash already. And so you're gonna see a lot of stuff being pulled out of my stash, which I think is probably a good thing for me to use up my stash and be creative with a little bit of new stuff mishmashed with a bunch of old stuff, right? Oh, Sandra, you're congested too, eh? So, yeah, I'm more of the sneezing and runny nose. And when it gets really bad, it could get to itchy eyes, but not yet. Okay, so yeah, there's going to be a lot of... oh, wow, Tara, you're worse than me. You have to take use a puffer. Wow. I'm just thinking, is the puffer for like breathing, or is it actually dispense like allergy medication just in a different way and that's more effective? Yeah, my brain got sidetracked there. Sorry. So the mat here is 5 by 5 inches. So I need another piece of white. So I'm going to trim off 5 inches here. And another 5 this way, so now this is a square mat. All right. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so the rest of the pieces on this card are scraps of paper that I pulled from my stash. Okay, so literally, like, some of these were strips that were already cut off from previous cards, and oh, I can see this. Okay, so these strips here are 1/2 inch wide by 4.5 inches long, so I do need to trim these down. So let's bring that paper trimmer back. Huh. Tara, I think I'm allergic to the same things as you. Possibly not quite as bad as you, or maybe just a different reaction. I've never had to use a puffer, knock on wood. Okay, so 4.5 inches wide, sorry, 4.5 inches long, that's for this piece, and then this one is already 4.5 inches, I believe. It's a leftover piece, yep, so I'll just trim off a 1/2 inch here. I'm measuring on the right side this time, just because my fingers cover it up on the left. That is a really handy feature of this trimmer, that it has measurements on both left and right sides. Okay, so let's put that aside. And I think that's all I need to do for now. So let's, I'm just trying to think of what we should do next. So there's a lot of die cutting and embossing. So let's go on and do that, okay? I'm gonna bring in my die cutting machine. Oh, okay, yes, asthma. That would probably contribute to your severity of your symptoms. Okay, so let's bring in all the plates. And I'm going to emboss first. Let's take these plates away. So you can see here all the instructions for which plates to use if you're feeling kind of timid about buying one of these machines and how to use them. It is really easy. All the instructions are there to remind you if you forget. Okay, so this is the Subtle 3D embossing folder. Another oldie but goodie. I like how it just adds a little bit of texture to the paper, and it doesn't overwhelm your card, right? So that's why I'm adding it to this. So I'm gonna run that through. And apparently my hair was stuck to that. Okay, so that is the embossing part. Now we'll go on to die cutting. Let's bring over the other plates. I don't know about you ladies, but as I have gotten older, I've realized, like, not realized, but noticed that my train of thought is easily distracted these days. If I'm talking about one thing and thinking about another thing, I can't necessarily do both well, and sometimes I get a mishmash. I'll get something coming out of my mouth about what I'm thinking, mixed in with what I intended to say, or I get distracted like a squirrel. It's not a fun part of getting older, but it certainly results in some funny conversations, I'll tell you. Alright, so here's the thanks dies. I'm going to use this to cut the background for the word thanks out of white. And I'll use this to cut the word out of pretty in pink. I chose pretty in pink because it matches the DSP. There we go. Okay, I have to take a quick break to blow my nose. I'm sorry. Just take this second to go take a sip of coffee. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Like I said, can't control allergies. Okay, so here's the two words. I will poke those out after. Let's put them aside, and we'll die cut the flowers and stuff. Okay, so let me just think. Oh, I want to do the banner. So I have this is a piece of the gingham paper from the DSP pack. Let me grab the die for this. It's the largest one in the pack. And this is the Nested Essentials dies. Okay, so I'm just going to die cut this. And before we could die cut the flowers, I'm going to show you how I added the color ahead of time. So here we go. All right, let's move this out of the way while I show you how I did the flowers. So I wanted the flower, let me bring this back in so you can see. I wanted a light shading around the center of the flowers, but I didn't want to add the shading afterwards because I find that when I blend onto the edges of things, you get like a darker edge, of course, like a line along the edges of things. So I didn't want that look. I wanted it to just be a soft color. And this is pale papaya. I found that pale papaya works well. If you don't have peach pie, which is the color in the DSP, I'm using pale papaya and I'm just brushing it on. And even the center, I didn't want a solid pale papaya piece. And I do have peach pie as well, but I found it too strong. So I actually blended that onto white paper and die cut that out. Okay, so let's do that. I'm gonna bring in a piece of white scrap here and a blending brush. And like I said, this is pale papaya. So I'm just gonna blend to, oh, let me bring some scrap paper in. I always tap off just to make sure I don't have a blob of ink somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to need 2 sections that are just a pale center. Okay, I'm just going to very lightly create like kind of a circular area that is blended on, because I don't want it to be too strong. Okay, so you can see it's quite light, and I'm going to do a second one. I think that's pretty good. I'm just going to darken this one a little bit more. That's it. Okay, and then I'm going to create one darker spot for the middle. So that's going to be pretty small. There we go. I think that's dark enough. And I'm going to leave a little bit of room to die cut the little, I don't know what those are, like little mini flowers around the center. Okay, let's grab the dies from the Zinnia pack. Alright, so we'll need this, and these. And we're going to need to bring in the cut and emboss machine again. So let's arrange all our dies here. Okay, so I'm going to have one here. So I'm centering the center over the middle of the circle that I blended. Same with this one. Okay, and this one goes right here, and I'm going to die cut this out of plain white. So I'm gonna, oh, that popped out, great. I might want to add a little bit more. We'll see. This one did not pop out. All right. I think we're done with that. And let's move this out of the way again, and then we'll pop everything out. Let's get my take your pick tool, and we have several things to pop out of their dies. Oops. So I'm just using the release holes here to poke the stylus end of the take your pick tool. I'm just going to poke through them to release my die cut. I was just discussing with friends summer plans, summer camp plans for my daughter, and I realized I don't have much planned for her because our vacation plans have changed recently, so now I have to rethink or think some more about what what I'm gonna do to keep her busy this summer. I don't need a bored teen hanging around telling me how bored she is. There. All right. Oh, this one's a little bit stuck. I don't want to rip the petal off, so I gotta release it. The middle's not poking out as easily, but I want to press too hard because I don't want a big dent mark in it. So let's just, oh, there we go. All right. Yeah, she is 13. She did do the babysitting course, but she does have sort of a summer job. The local tennis court here actually hired her last year to very casually help clean up around the courts, which is kind of no schedule, just very, very loosey-goosey in terms of like hours and stuff, but which was really fun. It was fine for her, and my husband would just take her when he goes to play tennis. So right now I'm just using whatever's on the brush to add a little bit more color, because in fact I could see it was slightly off center. So I'm just adding a tiny bit more color, and that's it. Okay. I think that's all we need for the flowers. I'm going to put them together now. I'm just going to use little bits of glue, pull out my tweezers so I don't get glue all over my fingers. Actually, I'm going to decide which way to put my flower, because I want the petals to line up in spots that don't leave too big of a gap. See, in some directions it doesn't seem to work as well, so I like to figure out which way I'm going to turn it. Okay, I think that works well. All right. So I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this one. I didn't think 13 was old enough to be a camp counselor, actually. I certainly think she needs to look at maybe doing some volunteer stuff, but I'm not sure yet what. Okay, I think I turned it a little bit, but this is probably good. All right. So the good thing with glue is that you can kind of fiddle with it after you're placing it and figure out. Oh, I think that way works better. Okay, I think that works better. Whoops. Reality crafting, what do I tell you? Okay, I think that works pretty well. Let's just center that. All right, so now that that's on. Okay, so 14 maybe next year then. All right, so the way I'm going to curl these, so if you notice, I have curled this has a 3D effect. It's raised, right? The flowers like got a 3D effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use my bone folder and just press it against the petals, and just like you were curling paper, sorry, ribbon for gift wrapping, right? And I think the first time I might have done it one by one before I glued them together, so you may want to do that. I got a little excited about putting them together, so mine will be done together. It's not impossible, it's just a little bit more convenient, I think, because it gives a little bit of variation if you can do it, the petals one by one. So I'm kind of going underneath and going one by one now. This is, it just adds so much dimension to your card front if you have this little bit of a 3D effect, and hopefully you're able to hand deliver this, because I'm not sure how well this would survive going through Canada Post. Alright, I think that's pretty good. I'm just going to lift those petals a little bit. And you can fiddle with this as you wish. Alright, let's add in our little centerpiece. I'm just putting it in the middle because I don't want the glue to squish out through those little die cut lines there. And I'm just going to put little dots of glue on the centers of each of these little flowers, but closer to the middle, because I know that the outsides of these flowers will be hanging off the center of this. Okay, so little dots of glue. I should actually do this on my silicone mat, so that if I get any glue on my desk, I can just wipe it off. When it's on the silicone mat, it'll just rub off quite easily. There's my flower. Okay, so now let's assemble the two words. So this is, the white is just the shadow of the word thanks. So I'm going to put little dots of glue on the back of my thanks. You know, I should pull out my, what is it called? Masking? No, not masking. There is double-sided adhesive that I could have put on the back of this so that this would, when I die cut it, it would have been turned into a sticker, but I don't know why I keep forgetting to use it. I've had it for ages and just forgot. But this is fine too if you don't mind putting tiny dots of glue, and you have a good pair of tweezers to just plop that on top of your other die cut. There we go. Adhesive sheets. Thank you, Tara. All right. So now I find that I have to be careful with words that I don't accidentally stretch it out, which happens. Just got to be careful when you place it down so that it's not, so that it matches everything in the right spot. There we go. Great. All right. I think that's pretty much it. I think we can go ahead with assembly. There's no stamping in this card. It's all die cuts and die cut pieces from the specialty paper. So let's go ahead and assemble. Okay, so here's my card base. I'm gonna take my embossed sheet mat, and I'm going to add some glue. Okay, so I always start at a 30 or 45 degree angle, and I just line up my corners and the sides of my paper, and I eyeball whether or not it is the right width, because it's supposed to be about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And I kind of let it fall, but I don't let it stick until I've moved it into position. So here I'm happy with how that looks. Could use my grid paper to help me line things up. And that looks very good, so let's press it down. Okay, so now I'm going to lay out where I want to put my strips of paper. And this is approximately in the middle. So I like to lay things out first so that I can get a sense of where I'm going to be gluing things down before I actually apply adhesive, in case it needs to be shifted. Okay, and the banner, oops, goes on top, just over to the right a little bit. And I'm going to make sure that enough of the banner is above the 2 strips here. Okay, so I think that's probably going to be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and glue down the strips behind here first. Okay. I know it's hard to cover up the side with the gold on it, but it just looks right for this. I don't want to use this other side for this particular layout. So this side looks best. Okay, and we'll get the other one glued down too. I'm going to go ahead and put on my banner, and because there is a little bit of height here created by the 2 layers of paper, I'm going to use glue dots this time to secure it, because the glue dots are slightly higher and it'll help it stay flatter, because it gives it that little bit of height to go above the 2 layers of paper. But it's totally fine to just glue it down too. Really not a huge difference, but it's just something I like to do. So I'm just ripping it, and so I know where the glue dot is. I'm going to put it in the 4 corners because those are not on my piece of paper here. Okay, so we want to raise the edges of the paper that are not on top of the 2 layers of strips. Okay, so I'm putting this right here, I think. So like I said, I'm using my grid paper to help me kind of visualize if it looks straight. I think it looks good. Okay, let's put our flower on first. So behind this, because this is curved, I am going to put dimensionals on the back of my flower. Let's take the backings off. Okay, and I did just put it in the center, and I'm gonna, hopefully that will leave enough room for me to slide in my my leaves and my my little gold piece. Okay, so these are die cuts from the paper pack, and I pulled them out already somewhere. Here we go. All right, so here's one leaf, and this one's still in the paper, so I'm just going to pop it out. Okay. So I think it's curving the opposite way from that one, so I'm going to put it on this side instead. Okay, so I'm just going to see if this can fit underneath, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue under afterwards if I don't need to trim it. So I'm just checking. All right, I think I can fit enough of this underneath that'll be fine. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back in the bottom sections, because I find that as I slide it in, the glue might smear as it goes in, and it will probably just end up sticking to the parts that are don't have any glue on it. So, and that avoids hopefully having glue on parts of the card that I don't want to have glue. So I'm going to hide this underneath. Oops. Okay, let's pull this out a little bit more. I think that should be good. I'm just going to use my tweezers to get underneath there, or you can use your bone folder actually, just to press it in. Press it down onto the card. That way I know it's not going to go anywhere. There we go. All right, and let's stick in a leaf. Let's see, let's put it in this way. You could probably put in a couple more leaves too. You can play with it. I am not an expert flower arranger. It's not one of my skills, but perhaps you are better at this and you can arrange the leaves better than me. There we go. So I'm going to aim it up just a little bit more. There. All right. Now we're going to put the thanks on, and I'm just going to use glue. So I'll probably stick to putting glue just behind this section. I'm not going to put glue here because they are a little bit raised. I'm not going to make them stick, but that's totally personal preference. You can put glue behind the entire thing if you want. It's really not a huge difference. It's just something I prefer. All right, and we'll just center this here. All right, so so that is the most of the card. I'm just going to take some iridescent foil gems and add those in. I find it's more, it works for me to use less of the colored gems because these gold ones match everything, right? You don't have to have the specific color. So my tip is like all mashed down from using it before, so I like to just push it up into the point again so that I can use it again. There. Oh, there we go. So lots of die cutting today, not so much stamping, but using up scraps of DSP and making a mishmash of old and new. And that is our card today. Pretty fast. And you can do this with, you can cut this banner, just cut it out yourself. It's not hard if you don't have that die, and just use a mishmash of like what you have to make this layout. So I hope that, oh yeah, the white pearls, Tara, yes, I have colored those with the blends markers. The adhesive sheets are really useful for die cuts that are very intricate, like butterflies or other flowers that might have a lot of die cut holes in them. So they are useful. I don't know why I keep forgetting I have them. I don't know. Yeah, so I hope that inspires you to create with whatever you have this week. Like I said, I'm going to be pulling out stuff from my stash and encouraging you to use up what you have in your stash to make something new with those. So have fun with that, and hopefully I will see you next week and make some more cards next week. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.